Sixers win it! Wow!
Oh, man, Embiid just posterized Russell Westbrook.
You love the Philadelphia Eagles! Let me get a hell yeah!
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of Party on Broad. It is Deibs, Mr. Crockpot on Twitter. Thanks for watching, guys. Hit that subscribe button, guys, if you're watching us on our YouTube channel. And on iTunes and Spotify is where you can find Party on Broad. Joining us today is the Austin Krell. Follow him on Twitter at KrellTPL. Check out the Feed to Embiid. That is on Twitter at the Feed to Embiid. All sorts of NBA and Philadelphia 76ers coverage. What's going on, Austin?
Not much.
All right, moving on. Also joining us today is my man Thiago. He is T Scabia on Twitter. How you doing, Thiago?
Doing well, man. Just another day without sports here, so going kind of crazy. Started watching some German soccer.
Oh, okay.
What?
All right.
Korean baseball's next.
Today we are talking Paul Reid. He is a 6'9" forward out of DePaul. We're going to talk about his college season. We're going to talk about his strengths, his weaknesses, and the best team fits in the NBA draft. Thiago, you have an article on this guy coming out in a few weeks over at thepaintlines.com. Tell us a little bit about Paul Reid's career at DePaul. Sorry.
Sure thing. Yeah. Paul Reid is an interesting guy. When you think of DePaul, you don't really think of any high-level athletes, high-level NBA prospects. But I think Paul Reid might be able to break that trend a little bit. You're talking about the 2018-2019 most improved player in the Big East. And I think from that point on, Paul Reid's game has really translated well and has really made some significant strides for DePaul. If you watch a lot of the Big East games, DePaul has been kind of a sneaky out, giving teams a lot of difficulties in the Big East. And you go right back to this guy. He is a absolute defensive anchor on that team. He has made significant improvements from his sophomore year to his junior year on the defensive end. He's a guy who can really go out, defend multiple positions, provide rim protection, and anchor the defense for DePaul. So the first thing that stands out when you watch him is just that sheer versatility on the defensive end and how he can impact the game on that side of the court. Now, the offense is something that I guess we maybe discuss a little bit here on this pod. It has not come with the same arc as his defense, but I think that there is some intriguing traits and intriguing development tools for him, especially if he falls in the right NBA team and in the right coaching structure. So for me, Paul Reid is a super interesting guy, a guy who I would definitely consider in the first round, and a guy who I would definitely consider ahead of some of the bigger names that you hear a lot about in the power forward center.
Oh, it's Tobin.
That guy. So yeah, Paul Reid, man, definitely keep an eye on this guy for sure.
All right, Paul Reid. Let's talk a little bit about his strengths. Austin, what's the strength of Paul Reid, man?
He was so good that the school actually renamed itself after him. Cut that. So I think he's a really strong finisher around the basket. DePaul had a very up and down season, but and when they had a hot start, he was a big part of that. And I'm looking, very forward to see him how he fares as a big man under the basket at the next level.
Yeah, man, I go straight to Paul Reid's defensive upside, and you touched on it a lot, Thiago. But just to piggyback on that, like this guy has the length, the mobility, the athleticism, and the instincts, that make him a really intriguing fit at the next level. I think even if he takes time to develop on offense, this guy can erase a shot. He can switch on the perimeter. He can create points off turnovers. Defensively is just where this guy shines. He can rebound, protect the paint, but also get on the perimeter, anticipate the passing lanes. As a guy who loves defense, this guy was a really fun kind of study for me. His analytics on defense are really fun. His block percentage, steal percentage, defensive rating, defensive box, plus minus numbers were all tops in the Big East. He might not bring much on offense at the next level to start, man, but which we'll get to in a little bit. But man, you got to be impressed with those numbers on the defensive end. And if you can out the gate bring that kind of impact defensively, look at Matisse Thybulle, you're probably going to be a first-round pick. Any reaction to that, Thiago, and a strength for Paul Reid?
For sure. I mean, that's first-round pick written all over it for myself. The defensive impact that you talked about, it really plays out not only at the rim he's a really smart, really aware of weak side defender. So he's able to feel the drive, feel where the defense is collapsing, and immediately rotates to the rim and meets the shooter at the rim. So that's something that really, it's a lot of fun to watch. The defense also plays out on the perimeter. So he has a 7'2" wingspan. And I mean, he gets on guys' face in the perimeter, makes their life absolutely hell. He moves very well laterally, I think, as well. And I think that plays out well as perhaps even a small forward type contributor. I also want to point out, like, on offense, he's not a complete zero. So there are things about his game that are very interesting. Now, he shot 33% on 103 attempts from three. Obviously, that's not going to catch anybody's eye by, it's not going to be something that people are going to focus on right away. But he does things off the ball, and he does things as a passer that, to me, really intrigues me. I think that when you talk about a little bit of a guy like how Miami used Bam Adebayo, he has a little bit of that ability to see cutters, see rollers, and use his vision to find guys. And I think that's something that perhaps a team in the future may want to exploit there as well. So the defensive upside is definitely off the chart. The shot needs work, but it has some substance behind it. And I think there's a little bit of playmaking behind Paul Reid as well.
Awesome. Let's move on to weaknesses for Paul Reid. Austin, give me a weakness for Paul Reid.
Yes. So like Thiago said, the jumper has to sort of improve. He has to start by actually taking jumpers. So I mean that would help. But and I think he can have lapses at times defensively, and maybe bail himself out by committing sloppy bad fouls. But I mean, he probably won't be trusted with like crucial crunch time minutes at first if he goes like in the late 20s. I think there's there's a lot of grooming to be done there around the edges, but I think he's overall a very solid prospect.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm kind of just, again, piggybacking off of Thiago. He's just a limited offensive player. When you talk about Paul Reid, this guy just can't be a zero on offense. And pretty much all of his offense are points in transition, finishing around the rim. He doesn't have a face-up game. He doesn't really have that much of a handle. He can be turnover prone. So it really comes down to, like, just don't be a zero on the court. But at 6'9", man, this is like that skinny tweener where I think he's going to be groomed as a stretch four at the next level. 30% from three on 1.8 attempts. That ain't it. He's a terrible screener. He doesn't know how to roll to the basket. So there are a lot of areas here on offense that he needs to just kind of, garner and develop. That being said, dude, a plus defender that can switch between the 3 and the 4 always has a place in the NBA. That alone is why I'm so high on this guy being a first-round pick. Thiago, what is it? Some weaknesses of Paul Reid?
Sure. So I'm going to get this off my chest right now because I know this comp is going to come up in draft time.
That was a
Paul Reid is not Pascal Siakam.
Okay.
And people are going to use that comp to death come draft time. Paul Reid is also not Bam Adebayo. So these are two names that are going to come up. You're going to hear a lot during the draft process as if possible, still because they have a similar kind of length, body, age profile, so to speak. So when you watch Paul Reid and you watch Pascal Siakam is much more fluid off the dribble, and his shot is much more fluid as well. If you watch Paul Reid's jumper, it's almost like he's fading away every time he shoots the ball. And I think there's significant work that needs to be done there behind, the whole process from beginning to end. So I'm not as sold on the jumper as I would a guy like Pascal Siakam, who you can clearly see when he takes a shot now. It looks like a normal NBA player. Now, I'm not saying to say that he can't develop it over time, But to expect him to come in and have that sort of impact on the offensive end is just not going to happen. Now, defensively, absolutely, he can come in, and I think he can be even a better player than Pascal Siakam in the long term. But right now, let's just kill all the comps and not expect any type of impact that those two guys have on their team. So
I expect nothing from you at all.
All right.
Just don't be terrible.
Let's talk about best fits in this NBA draft. Austin, who is a good fit for Paul Reid?
So I'm thinking late first round here. I think Boston would be an interesting fit, just because he seems like a guy who would just give the Sixers a fucking headache for years.
Yeah, eyes on the wing.
Yeah. I mean, athletic. Can box with you down low. They're gonna probably want to save up some money for their upcoming expiring deals. So I think it would make a lot of sense to for them maybe slot him at like a small ball 5 and really buy into the small ball that they're going for. Because right now they quite honestly don't have a big. I mean, they have Daniel Tice, but they have Daniel Tice. So I mean, it's like we might as well endorse the small ball and go all in with it, but actually get somebody who can play.
That's a really good pick. How about you, Thiago?
Yeah, Paul Reid could give Ben Simmons trouble, and him and Marcus Smart on the same team would be a pain in the ass for sure. For me, I go to Oklahoma City Thunder. They got Nerlens Noel, who's going to be a free agent at the end of the year, and they seem to really like these like long, athletic, like hyper disruptive defensive players. And he fits exactly that mode of what OKC looks for. They would pick in late first round, and I think that's a pretty good range for Paul Reid as well. So. Yeah, Oklahoma City for me.
I just went strictly who I want to see Paul Reid play for, and for me, that is the Golden State Warriors. We're assuming that Curry, Clay, and Draymond Green are all going to be good to go for next season, but like I think the Warriors are at its best when they don't have a center and they have guys playing small ball, a lot of versatility that Paul Reid can bring, and plus he won't need the ball. And him just taking a year and learning behind Draymond is kind of a really intriguing fit. I'm not calling him Draymond by any means, but I feel like that's kind of like where he's going to be going, 3 or 4 years from now. I had the Golden State Warriors. I think that would be a really fun fit for him just to be able to kind of adjust to the speed of the NBA and kind of learn the offense, just slowly, because I think that's what he needs. Offensively, the game will be moving 10,000 miles an hour for this guy. Any reaction to that, Thiago?
Yeah, I mean, you go to Golden State, next year you're shooting 50% on 10 attempts from 3. So perfect fit.
All right.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's wrap it up. Make sure you follow my man Austin on Twitter at KrellTPL. Check out the Feed to Embiid on Twitter at the Feed to Embiid. Everything Sixers and Embiid coverage. And check out my man Thiago on Twitter at tscabia. For Austin, for Thiago, for myself, thanks for watching, guys. Stay awesome.
Sixers win it! Wow! Oh, man, Embiid just posterized Russell Westbrook.
You love the Philadelphia Eagles. Let me get it.